Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 18th day of May, 2022. It is Wednesday of the 5th week of Easter. It is the 33rd day of Easter. Coming to you again from the little wooded grove where our nut thatch boxes are, by the pastoral offices, and then the back door towards the choir room of the of our church. It is Wednesday, so it is community mass, and we are beginning to get ready for community mass this morning. It is, it's the last nice day that we're going to have for a while here in Carolina, because it's going to become sweltering heat the next couple of days. Hopefully the weekend will bring some relief from that. But today it is a nice day to be out in the sun, to be outside in Carolina. Our readings, we move in the Acts of the Apostles, in the narrative there, to the beginning of the Great Council of Jerusalem. And again, the first council of the church, said to have happened around the year 50 or so. But the reason why the council has to happen is because there are some of people who were formerly Jewish or Jewish leadership who basically say that you have to be circumcised in order to be saved. And telling that to the Gentiles is not a good thing, because the Gentiles are not looking to have that happen to them, especially at adulthood. And again, what this raises is a whole big question. Do you have to become Jewish in order to be a part of the community of Christ, the community of the resurrection, the community of this new movement that is transforming human history, that has transformed human history? And what that raises in a lot of ways is the sense in which we as human beings, want to throw our own limitations upon what it is that God can do. And we continue to do that even today. Is that we say, unless you are like this, or unless you do that, or unless you do this, then God wants no part in your life. God can have no part in your life. You will never be saved, etc., etc. All of that is garbage in many ways, because the Council of Jerusalem will decide that very fact. That it's not about circumcision. It's not about these kinds of things. That again, yes, God asked Judaism to do, but Jesus, as God, is not asking that to happen again. And it's finding out where it is that God is acting and what is God asking us to do, which may be different from other things that God has asked us to do in the past. As God moves forward in history, so too do we. And as God is above history, God knows exactly what God is doing and what God plans forth and what God is going to bring to fruit in the end. That is something at times that we need to constantly be reminded of. And seeing that our first brothers and sisters in the faith in this early church wrestled with the same kinds of questions should encourage us always to reflect in our minds and hearts that when something is said that we should do or must do, is it truly from God, or is it truly us trying to make God do what it is that we want God to do, to preserve ourselves, to preserve our security, to preserve our comforts, to preserve whatever identity we think we have constructed ourselves. Anything that is us, that is our identity, that contributes to us becoming who and what we are, has its source only in God, always in God, and never just in ourselves. In fact, perhaps never just in ourselves. That's an important reading to add to, or to bring together with the gospel today, in which John's gospel, in which Jesus talks about the vine and the branches. And basically, Jesus says, "Without me, you can do nothing. That you are a part of me, and I am a part of you." The interesting thing about this passage always is the idea of pruning. That again, as branches need to be pruned to be able to grow, and pruning can hurt, so too are we pruned as believers in this world, so we can continue to grow. Growth can involve hurt in many kinds of ways. Growth can involve, disappointments and distractions and despairs and all kinds of things like that, but still it leads to growth, because we believe that death always leads to life. Pain always leads to greater life. The joy that we experience is a joy that perhaps comes about because of the wisdom that we have gained, because of what we have experienced, which may be both a challenge and some bitterness and some unhappiness, to become incomparable joy. To not be misled by what the world thinks and understands as the progress of human life, which sometimes goes from good to worse. God turns all of that around and shows us in so many ways how we are made who and what we are, not only through the wonderful things that happen to us, but also through the disappointments that happen to us. All of this resides in the heart and the mind of God. All of this is part of God's plan for us. Easter brings us again to remember that, to hold that, to allow us to be people who are enabled to see through all of those things that stand in the way of human life, to the wonder and glory of the life that God gives us. A blessed Easter, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord continue to give you his peace.